This is insane. How did Arthur get into the clown's account in a cell in jail? His ass smart, low key. I know y'all heard what the hell happened, right? The manhunt for Arthur Cofield has become one of the most remarkable criminal justice stories in the United States after federal authorities confirmed that the Georgia inmate who orchestrated an $11 million fraud scheme while behind bars escaped from federal custody. The FBI has announced a reward of up to $10,000 for information leading to his capture and conviction, turning what was already one of the most unusual fraud cases in recent memory into a nationwide fugitive investigation. According to federal authorities, Cofield escaped from the Federal Correctional Institution in Jessup, Georgia on May 26, 2026, while serving an 11-year and 3-month sentence for conspiracy to commit bank fraud and aggravated identity theft. Investigators say the 34-year-old inmate walked away from the minimum security federal prison camp and has remained at large ever since, prompting an extensive search involving the FBI, the U.S. Marshal Service, and the Bureau of Prisons. Authorities have warned the public not to approach him and say he should be considered armed and dangerous. FBI.gov. What makes the case especially shocking is the criminal scheme that originally sent Cofield to federal prison. Prosecutors allege that while incarcerated in Georgia's prison system, he used contraband cell phones and outside accomplices to carry out one of the largest known financial fraud operations ever orchestrated from inside a prison. Investigators said Cofield obtained personal information belonging to wealthy victims and used social engineering techniques to convince financial institutions that he was the legitimate account holder. The most famous incident involved an $11 million theft connected to a Charles Schwab account belonging to Hollywood producer Sidney Kimmel. Authorities allege that Cofield and his associates successfully impersonated the victim and persuaded financial representatives to authorize transfers of funds. Rather than relying on sophisticated computer hacking, investigators said the operation centered on identity theft, phone impersonation, and manipulation of customer service procedures. Reddit. Federal prosecutors said the stolen funds were then converted into physical assets, most notably thousands of American Gold Eagle coins. Reports indicate that more than 6,000 gold coins were purchased through a precious metals dealer in Idaho using the fraud proceeds. Authorities alleged that a private security company was hired to transport the gold by aircraft to Georgia, where associates connected to the scheme took possession of the shipment. Investigators later tied some of the proceeds to luxury purchases, including attempts to acquire multi-million-dollar real estate in Atlanta. Despite years of investigation, reports have indicated that a significant portion of the stolen assets has never been fully recovered, adding another layer of mystery to the case. https://www.atlantanewsfirst.com. The scale of the fraud stunned investigators because it was allegedly organized from inside prison walls. According to reporting on the case, Cofield had access to smuggled cell phones and maintained communication with a network of people outside prison. Authorities have described him as a highly capable fraudster who exploited weaknesses in identity verification systems. Legal experts noted that while financial fraud originating from prison is not unheard of, the amount of money involved in this case placed it in a category rarely seen in American criminal history. Some reports have suggested that the total value of fraud linked to Cofield may have exceeded $15 million across multiple schemes, although the Charles Schwab-related theft remains the most widely known allegation associated with his criminal career. The New Yorker. Cofield's criminal history stretches back years before the federal fraud case. Public records show he first entered prison as a teenager after an armed robbery conviction. Even while incarcerated, prosecutors alleged that he continued directing criminal activities through associates on the outside. His name became known within Georgia law enforcement circles as investigators repeatedly uncovered evidence suggesting that prison confinement had not stopped him from operating complex schemes. Authorities eventually built a federal case that resulted in his conviction for conspiracy to commit bank fraud and aggravated identity theft, leading to the sentence he was serving at FC Guy Jessup before his escape. https://www.atlantanewsfirst.com. The escape itself has raised serious questions about prison security. Federal officials have not publicly disclosed every detail of how Cofield managed to leave custody, but reports indicate that he disappeared from the minimum security satellite camp adjacent to the prison complex. Such facilities generally have fewer physical security barriers than higher security institutions because they house inmates considered lower escape risks. Critics have questioned why an inmate associated with a multi-million-dollar fraud operation and a lengthy criminal history was housed in a minimum security setting. Authorities have not publicly provided a detailed explanation regarding his placement. CBS News. Following the discovery that Cofield was missing, law enforcement agencies quickly launched a coordinated search effort. The FBI's Atlanta field office announced a reward of up to $10,000 for information leading to his capture and conviction. Officials emphasized that Cofield has ties to the Atlanta metropolitan area, but cautioned that he could have traveled elsewhere since escaping. Federal investigators distributed wanted notices and urged members of the public to report any information about his whereabouts. The FBI's wanted bulletin notes that an additional federal charge of escape from custody was filed after he fled the prison facility, FBI.gov. News of the escape immediately attracted national attention because of the unusual nature of Cofield's background. Cases involving escaped inmates occur every year, but very few involve someone who allegedly stole millions of dollars while already incarcerated. The story has generated widespread discussion across news outlets and social media, where many observers have expressed amazement that such a large fraud operation could have been coordinated from inside prison. Others have focused on the unanswered question of the missing assets connected to the fraud scheme, wondering whether money or gold connected to the case could potentially help a fugitive remain hidden for an extended period. Those questions remain speculative, and authorities have not publicly linked any current resources to his escape. Money-wise, law enforcement officials continue to stress that the focus remains on locating and apprehending Cofield safely. The FBI, U.S. Marshal Service, and Bureau of Prisons are all involved in the investigation. Authorities have released identifying information, including descriptions of his tattoos and physical appearance, and continue asking the public for assistance. Officials have repeatedly emphasized that anyone who believes they have seen him should contact law enforcement rather than attempt to confront him directly. https://www.atlantanewsfirst.com. As the manhunt continues, the Arthur Cofield case stands out as one of the most extraordinary